Hi, my name is Eva Litzenberg. I'm the founder and managing director of London Language Hub. I've been a German tutor for 20 years. Let's have a coffee and talk about exams. That's a great question. So obviously, if you've got a visa requirement to hit, or you're applying for a job that's a job or university course that has a requirement, yes, just take the exam. That's where you prove your proficiency. Now, a lot of people decide to sit an exam for personal reasons or as a personal sort of achievement. And in that case, I always think it's worth to think about a cost-benefit analysis. It's absolutely not for everyone. So there are some cons towards about taking exams. So first of all, they are expensive. So an internationally recognized exam at the Goethe Institute will cost you £199 at the moment. And there is no one price because there's lots of different providers and exam boards. But for GCSE and A-level, it tends to be around £400, which, I can think of a lot of things that I would spend £400 on. Now, then, exams are always time and effort. So think about if you've got the budget and the emotional bandwidth and the time to make a success of the exam. And then there's the thing that a lot of people do find exams very stressful. Exam anxiety is a huge thing. And if it's just going to add stress to your life, please don't do an exam just for the fun of it. There are other ways to sort of motivate yourself. However, this is also a little bit of a pro. If you are in a stage of your life where you have to sit many exams and they give you anxiety, and you are pretty good at your language, it's almost like a practice exam. So you sort of say, well, I do this A1 exam that doesn't really mean very much. If you fail it, you can resit it again. It doesn't, and it's easily achievable. So this could also be a pro if you've got exam anxiety. And there are a few other pros. So exams are really motivational to some people. So I was one of these kids. I like to prove myself, and an exam is a huge motivator for me. If somebody gives me a grade, I'm here. And then you can visualize your progress, and this can help with stuff like the language plateau. Language plateau, for those who don't know it, is if you start learning a language, you feel like you're progressing really, really fast, and it's quite an exciting thing. So you learn something new every time. You can add new things to your sentences every week or every lesson. And then when you sort of hit intermediate stages, your progress slows down quite considerably. And some people sort of feel stuck in this language plateau. And when you're at that stage, it's quite good to have like a visual reminder of, I've come really far. And there are other ways in exams to show this, but exam is a valid consideration. And I mean, I'm going to state the obvious here, but it's very useful to have a language exam on your CV or on your university application. So extracurriculars are always making you stand out. So in the UK, you've got two options. You can go for GCSE and A-level school curriculum-based exams, or you can go for the, let me check so I don't get this wrong, CERF exam. So that's an internationally recognized exam, such as the Goethe exam or the TELC, but there are other providers available. Okay, so they are exams based on the national curriculum. If you go to school, you're going to sit your GCSE at 16, then you sit your A-levels at sort of 18. If you're in the UK, if you are in another country, substitute your own exams for this. Okay, so there are a couple of advantages to GCSE and A-level. So first of all, if you are currently at a school that has a language program that leads to GCSE and A-level, it's free. And we've already just discussed that exams can be a bit costly. So if you have the chance, I would always say, take it. Another thing that's a little bit niche, but if you are from a bilingual family or you have bilingual kids and they're already pretty good at reading and writing and understanding the language, and they're struggling a little bit in other areas, it's just a little confidence boost, and it will help the university applications if you throw in an easy 8 or 9. I mean, you're going to have to look a little bit at your situation, but if that's the case, then I think GCSE and A-level could probably be a good option, and then easy shorthand everywhere in the UK. So you may have to explain, oh, I've taken the Goethe Institute exam and I've now got B2 level. Not everyone will know what you're talking about, but if you say, I've got GCSE French, I've got A-level Spanish, everyone knows what you're talking about in the UK. Now, the cons. They're very, very easy shorthand in the UK. If you want to have international options, GCSE and A-level are a little bit meaningless. They're also, we've already talked about this, expensive, especially compared to the international exams. And I think the biggest clincher is that the exams themselves, based on the fact how languages are being taught in the UK, encourage some really bad habits. They're just okay, where to start? First of all, the teaching and the exams is very heavily based on translation. Not everyone who's a good speaker of another language is naturally a good translator. I think there's a whole other video in it, but for now, translation bad. Then when it comes to German, and I've definitely heard it from other language teachers as well, the key vocabulary that you are required to know tends to be a little bit outdated. So again, you're expected to use very specific words, and not all of them are in general used. Then there's the problem that you kind of have to really make an effort to make artificially complex sentences just to prove you can. And when it comes to A-level, there's also a lot of required reading. So you're going to have to not only read or watch a film, you also have to analyze them, memorize parts of them, study them in depth. And that's quite a big time thief. So on the whole, I like to steer people away from GCSE and A-level unless they can take it for free. Okay, so I like to refer to them as the Goethe exam because they are the biggest provider, and they are internationally recognized language exams. You can take them in many languages. The acronym stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, but it's not just a European standard, it's an international standard. Anywhere in the world, B1 German, C2 Mandarin Chinese, A1 Spanish, it will mean something to people, at least people making hiring decisions or decisions about who to enroll into their university. So these tests, these exams test your competence in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. These are the 4 classic categories, and you do not have to. You don't have to be proficient in anything apart from the language. You just need to be able to read, write, speak, and understand it. Okay, and so incidentally, this is where we get the A1 to C2 classification from. So there are 2 levels in the A stage, that's beginner, 2 levels in the intermediate section, that's B, and then C, again 2 levels, C1 and C2, that's proficient. And you can categorize any language like this. Right, and in my opinion, that is the best choice for most learners, unless they can take the exam for free as part of their schoolwork. Okay, so why do I say that? First of all, they are internationally recognized. You can really easily sign up to them. For the Goethe exam, you type in Goethe Institute exam and your location. You pick a date that you like, you sign up, you're done. They're cheaper than GCSE and A-level, and essentially you have to do a lot less preparation. You're gonna have to do some preparation, but generally the idea is you can walk in off the street and say, I feel I'm B1 or A2, and just sit the exam. So generally very very straightforward, very easy. Okay, so I've struggled a little bit to come up with some cons. A lot of them are just like general exam considerations, so they are still expensive. They can still cause a lot of people stress and anxiety, and again, do that cost-benefit analysis if that applies to you. And the one thing that is true about the Goethe exam and all language exam is that a lot of people are a little bit caught out by the listening part. Just you are in a room listening to a 45 or 30-minute recording. You listen to it once or twice, you fill out multiple choice questions. It's boring. A lot of people get distracted. A lot of people can't necessarily follow this, so it's always worth doing a few of the free practice exams. But other than that, they're pretty good exam if you're looking for a language exam. So I'd go for that if you're going for anything. Excellent question, and I think it depends on one thing. What's your ambition? So I think B1 is a great option if you see your future in an English-speaking country, and so you just want to say, I also speak German, French, or whatever, and I can have some chit-chat with clients, I can read and respond to easy emails. B1, nice, straightforward exam, the last one that's really on your side. And then if your ambition is to move to a country where you need to speak your language and you want to have your professional career in that language, hair in my eye. So in that case, you need to go for B2. That's the sort of standard to show that you are a competent speaker. Nobody needs to make any accommodations for you. You can read and understand contracts. You can have a negotiation in that language. So if that's your ambition, always go for B2. So, should you do an exam? Well, I hope I could help you answer that question a little bit more clearly. Exams can be useful to a lot of people, but I always say the best proof is when you go to Germany and you use your German and they would then offer to switch to English. There is no better feeling than that, and you get that for a lot less than £499.